to this week's news program. I'm your host, Diana Longry. Thank you for tuning in. To help me with this week's news is Mr. Kevin Berglund, one of our regular reporters. Thank you, Mr. Berglund, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Now, we are going to continue with our previous reports on the North End study of Maplewood and the discussions that they are having regarding the rapid bus transit that is going to be zooming up the Bruce Vento Trail. We have covered the news on this project for quite some time, and as usual, we come away scratching our heads. Now, Mr. Berglund, I know that you've been watching the council meetings and listening to the updates that they give the public. Do we have any comfort that they're really telling the public everything there is to know about this project?
The long and short of it, when it comes to the overlords in Maplewood, if you take everything as a whole, you have a sense they don't know what they're doing. So are they telling them everything? They
have a storyline that they hope is going to satisfy everyone. Those folks who live up by the Maplewood Mall area, and they're questioning of how it's going to serve them. And also all the people along the Bruce Vento Trail who are now losing that great amenity that they've come to know, enjoy, and really appreciate. And so how can they really satisfy both of these populations with this project?
Well, up there, the people who live in Legacy Village, in some of the newer housing up there, many of them probably still have a large mortgage. It seemed like they were selling those houses for large sums, based upon the amount of space in them at least. They don't want an empty mall. An empty mall that doesn't mean completely empty. That means that it becomes increasingly less and less full of businesses, because if anybody does their research, malls come and they go all around the United States. And there's been even some of the Twin Cities. And malls are not a good thing for your neighborhood if they're empty. Not because I guess they could secure it and just vacate it and say, but things go on at those malls that people don't want going on in their neighborhood. So they want to assure those people that we've got it under control, that there is going to be a giant, they're putting out all kinds of big pictures. There's going to be a big medical industry in the mall or something like that. Now, when it comes to the people who are on that Bruce Vento nature corridor, where they're going to put their big bus rapid transit highway, those people, they're not happy about having this in their beautiful environmental preserve backyard. A thing that I think Bruce Vento would be very happy that this old abandoned rail line would be something that would be a preserve for the future, for a wildlife corridor, a place where people could walk, a place that would entice people to buy around there, a piece that would raise home values.
Right. And it's a significant greenway between the Phalen chain of lakes and the Casey chain of lakes in North St. Paul. And of course there's other lake chains in between there, but that's why it is such a significant greenway. So it really does serve that ecological purpose. So what I hear you say, of course, is that the folks who have bought into the housing in Legacy Village up by the mall, they want to hold on to this promise that rapid bus transit is going to be an economic powerhouse.
That's right.
For the mall area, because then that will mean that their real estate values won't be tanking.
Right.
Because their values will go down if suddenly the mall is half vacant. I mean, Sears has obviously left. And So you see, there are competing values in what people are looking at it for, what's in it for me. And yet, is this rapid bus transit really going to be an economic engine generator that the city and the county are promising? Because after all, it is only a bus. It is only a bus. And we currently have bus routes that run parallel to the Bruce Vento Trail. And by all estimations, that if you were to compare the speed of the express bus that goes from, Maplewood and the Larpenteur area, an express bus to the mall area, it is going to be similar in time to the rapid bus transit that's going to have similar number of stops, just on a different route that's going through people's backyards.
The residents up at Legacy Village, they know they're in these housing units and this real estate, and they just have to cross their fingers and hope that what they're pledging or promising or committing to from Maplewood, from Ramsey County, is reality. That the Maplewood's confidence game will actually go to fruition. I talked to one resident up there, and they're all for that bus rapid transit. They're just saying it's a wonderful thing. And I think it is, because if they think that if they don't get it, what will happen to the mall? What will happen in their backyard? What will happen to their future?
Right, so because that's their nest egg. Yes. I mean, that real estate, where they live, what they've bought into, that's their nest egg.
Right.
And so it's only natural that they would be looking at it for, from their own personal perspective. And go ahead.
And if you look after what Maplewood is saying, what will happen to that area, and we're talking, they call it the North End. Most people would more likely look at it as just Maplewood Mall itself. That Maplewood is on one hand saying this is going to be the beginning of a new day with a big medical corridor piggybacked up from St. John's Hospital and from the Allina Clinic over there, that this will be a center of the medical industry in the Twin Cities. On the other hand, at the same time, they're saying Maplewood Mall will be maybe some sort of educational institution where people throughout the metro area will come to get their degrees and their future. And of course, and there's nothing specific. There's just, I guess, they're visions, but they're really not based in anything. And they don't seem to yet have the foresight in Maplewood to look at, well, maybe we should sit down, sharpen our pencils, take a look that we're on a major transportation corridor on 694, Highway 61, and although all indicators show that businesses want to move out of Minnesota, SuperValu is done, businesses are looking at Minnesota, big corporations don't seem to look at a positive eye with the political climate, the governmental climate, the taxation climate, the quality of workforce, the age of workforce, the weather, and all other. They don't look at Minnesota as a destination that they want to put their big corporate headquarters. Instead of Maplewood sitting down and say, we got to do the hard work and we have to convince, we have to set up the situation, we have to figure out how to bring a medical industry here, bring a high-tech industry here, bring something that has higher paying jobs, or at least regular paying jobs, if it was going to be a distribution headquarters where people could be making $12 an hour or $15 an hour, but have a full-time job and get some kind of benefits. Maplewood, instead of going and doing that work, which is hard, which takes hustle, they're just putting out, we're just going to have some sort of big medical enterprise that is just going to come in because there's a bus rapid transit.
It's all that the cotton candy PR releases are going to save the day. And that isn't what saves the day. And you see, when they are talking about, like, say, for instance, tax increment financing in Maplewood, typically it's always with regard to housing. But keep in mind, high density housing or below market rate housing is not the only category by which you can use tax increment financing. A metropolitan community can use tax increment financing as an incentive to industries, to corporations, to encourage them to relocate, to renovate, to build, to develop something that will create jobs. And in that developer agreement between that corporation and the city, they can have agreements and parameters that this enterprise that's being developed will produce X number of jobs, and that it will produce jobs at certain particular pay rates because of the type of development that's going on. And so that is and has happened in other areas of the metropolitan area where communities have then enticed companies such as, say, for instance, Medtronics, right, to move to their community to produce their products and have their corporation enterprise there in their community. And well, wouldn't you like to have something like that up near the Maplewood Mall? And so then that is the type of synergy that you need. So while the Maplewood Mall is already established, there's going to be opportunity to do something with vacant space that is there right now currently, the Sears area of the mall, the Toys R Us building. Certainly there may be other space coming up in the next 2-3 years as the mall changes with the circumstances of the market. And this is what we could do.
One thing people do not, if they look at malls, they do not want the mall abandoned.
No.
Abandoned meaning that virtually no businesses are there, because then there's just people hanging out at the mall or just hanging out around it. And what they need to do, of course, is initially bring more of a police presence. People become more uneasy about their safety in the area. And it's an issue that I don't think the Maplewood, what they call them, leaders, look at it, that jobs, jobs, jobs are the key. Now, what's unfortunate in the Maplewood case is that there's some nice high-paying administrative jobs in Maplewood, very quality, long-term, sustainable job, fully benefited. And these are the type of people who are pushing out this false hope. I haven't seen one of them make the decision that they want to live in that area, move their family in that area, invest in that area. The city manager, of course, who's been around Maplewood for 20 to 30 years, she has invested nothing in Maplewood. She decided she would like to be in Mahtomedi. You have people who are the development director, economic development director, who continues to say what a wonderful opportunity this is. Has he decided to be enticed by the product that he's pushing out and move there? Dwayne Dewey Kaneko. No, he wants to live in South Minneapolis or West Metro area. Their assistant city manager of human resources, he's driving all the way from far west metro area to come to work in Maplewood to get a huge paycheck. The new PR guy who has a huge paycheck, who is supposed to be part of crafting this big false hope message, he wants to live in the Edina area. All these people believe that it's so important to craft the right story, to craft the right message, but it would be more reassuring to the public if they would invest in, buy in, live in their own message, because then they would have a stake in it. By pushing out false hope, as so many often do, to people who are willing to grab onto anything, is not a way to secure a successful and positive city.
We have for you today clips from a recent workshop where they were getting the council was getting an update on what is going on with the rapid bus transit that is going up and down the Bruce Vento Trail. This update is not necessarily for the benefit of the council, because the council really actually should know all this information already. It should have been given to them in a white paper, in some kind of performa, in some type of update by email from the city manager, from the county. Let's take a look at our first clip as they get started with their workshop topic.
Saw from the Ramsey County Regional Rail Authority is here to provide a quick update on the Rush Line and their planning process. And after Mr. Gitzloff, we do have Jay Dema and John Slack from Perkins and Will, and they will introduce you and discuss the market study that was included with your meeting packet tonight that was conducted for the north end of Maplewood. Just a couple words before we get into the presentations. This is a coordinated effort to have both projects with you tonight. And present to the council as there are two proposed BRT stations in the north end, one at St. John's Hospital, one at Maplewood Mall, and staff saw this as an opportunity to conduct a larger, more meaningful planning process to guide the future of this key part of the city and how to better position those stations for success while also taking a look at the overall future of the north end.
Coordinated effort. Now, the first time that we heard wind of the North End study being conducted was actually in April 2018 at the City Council staff retreat. And it was at that retreat that it was announced to the City Council that Sears was closing and leaving the mall. It was at that retreat, and we showed film footage on these programs, that it was first announced that the city was going to get into and commission this North End study. Now we hear how this is being coordinated as part and parcel of the rapid bus transit project that the Ramsey County is the lead on. So while it's a good thing that they're coordinated so that we don't have like the right hand and the left hand doing opposite things, this wasn't necessarily a